Hello to all my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, and new fans that are watching this show. This is my 10th Alan Levine, The Talking Machine show. I'm honored to have this guest. I met him a few years back, and you know you've heard commercials with the most interesting man. I'm stealing that quote. This is one of the most interesting men in Pittsburgh that I've met, and you know I know a few people. So please introduce yourself.
My name is Jim Houck, and congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
I've been watching. I'm a big fan.
You're pumping me up. I got to duck down. Thank you very much. No,
Actually, both of your shows, your cooking show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Speedy Gourmet. Next week we'll be doing that. So
That's awesome.
Stay tuned for what I cook. Some more seafood. I'm going to start this out real easy. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the West End in Sheridan.
I grew up in Greentree, neighbor.
Did you?
Right
Close
next
by.
to Parkway West, called Park Edge Road, down from Johnny Wilson Park, near where the pool's at.
Yeah, right up the hill from me.
Where were you? Where'd you grow up at?
We moved around quite a bit in
Hey,
in
understand.
Sheridan. Yeah.
I'm trying not to ask hard questions.
Yeah. No, I had a single mom, so we moved around quite
And
a
a
bit.
beautiful mom. I saw
Yeah.
some pictures. May she rest in peace.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
she
very
was
beautiful mom.
very beautiful. She died too young.
My mother died at 55 due to Alzheimer complications. So we got a lot of common things here. Yes.
Yeah.
And God takes people for numerous reasons, and it made me a stronger, more caring person because she was the nicest person I've met to this day.
That's wonderful.
And just amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Did you have any brothers or sisters? I never asked you.
Oh yeah, I do. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
See, you come from a family of 4.
Yeah, and I went to I actually went to Mount Lebanon High School.
How did that happen?
Well, I know it's like I moved to the Magic Kingdom after Sheridan, but
Compared to Sheridan
was-
West End,
it was
yes.
tough. I was supposed to go, right before I went to Langley. I ended up going to Mount Lebanon. My mom got remarried,
Okay.
and we bought a new house in Mount Lebanon. And
Well, that
it
helps.
was hard to adjust, but it's good to see both sides of the tracks, I guess. But grew up kind
Look
of.
at how it opens up your mind.
Yeah, I think so too. We had
Definitely.
kind of a rough, childhood, just being a little bit poor, and then a nice house in Mount Lebanon. It's quite a change.
Well, I tell everybody from being born in 56 and growing up in the 60s, we were like lower middle class, and we didn't realize that we were doing great. Mm-hmm. We had food, we're able to do all those things and do sports. I played sports.
Yeah, during my life, I've had people say to me, like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for how you grew up." And I had a blast when I was growing up. I didn't know anything was
Wasn't
wrong.
it fun?
It was fun.
And you could go out and play,
Yeah,
and your parents, your mom, or others didn't look for you.
yeah,
We were gone all day.
yeah. Us too. I'd be down on the south side playing on the train tracks when I was a little kid.
No, well, I won't tell the secret story. We climbed under the Parkway West. One of my friends had a yard there, and there was a big sewer about 4 feet wide that drained water both ways from the parkway. Guess what we did as young 8-year-olds?
Spelunking.
No, we went right through the parkway to the other side, and there was a Carpenter Union's Hall, and they had 5-cent Coca-Cola bottles. We never told our parents. May they rest in peace. And we did it numerous times. But no, the fun we had.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So you go to Mount Lebanon, and what did you do there? Any sports or anything?
Yeah, I played football and baseball, and I wrestled for a couple years.
Oh, okay.
I wrestled in Pitt Summer League too. When I was
so
in
you
high
went to
school.
Pitt.
Yeah,
You're
I
jumping
did.
ahead. I'm
Well,
trying to
no,
get there.
actually, when I was still in high school, Pitt used to have a summer wrestling camp and league.
Sure, a
and
lot
they
of
would-
them did.
Yeah, and I used to go there from Mount Lebanon High School to
Wow.
wrestle. And
When did you get interested in sports? Me being a sports guy, I got to ask. When's
probably
your
like
memory?
as young as I can remember. I didn't really have a dad,
Right.
and my mom was busy with all of us kids. So I remember.
You're hanging with the guys.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Sheridan, I actually took myself all the way across town and registered to play Little League. My mom didn't even know. I signed
Wow.
myself up to play
That's awesome.
Little League baseball.
What a
Play for the-
go-getter. There
yeah,
you go, folks.
play
I'm
for the-
trying to
play for the
inspire
Elks
you
team.
that there's no quit.
Yeah.
No quit in Pittsburgh. It's something in the water.
Yeah.
It makes us
Sports.
like this.
Yeah.
And we bleed black and gold even when they suck.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep,
sorry, that
that's
slipped
true.
out. No, so as long as you can remember you were around sports because you liked it.
Yeah.
You were drawn to it.
Yeah.
When did you get into boxing?
I got into boxing when I was about 14.
Okay.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a
another
good
thing I
age.
did without my parents knowing. I snuck there too.
Sure.
They were furious when I found out I was fighting, but you know, kids don't want their. I had braces too, so they didn't want
Oh.
my teeth knocked out.
Well, I'm sure you learned to protect yourself very well.
Yeah.
Did you ever compete in Golden Gloves or anything?
Yeah, I did.
Did
Yep,
you
I
win?
fought for Brookline, Brookline Boxing.
They were legendary.
Yeah, they were. Chuck Sempt. I
Yeah.
even went back and helped coach for a couple of years when he was. He had some real bad back problems for a couple of
Right.
years.
I
and-
know Muscles and Mike Bayans.
Yeah,
I'm friends with Muscles because he had this large friend named Jack Doyle
Mm-hmm.
who did a lot for the county. He's like 6'2". And Jack goes, yeah, if you meet him, he's my bodyguard. So they happen to be together at an event. And I go, Jack, you got a heck of a bodyguard. He goes, he's the toughest guy from Brookline. So I became friends with Muscles.
Yeah, yeah. I've come. I don't think Muscles would really remember me necessarily. Although somebody did tell me recently that they were talking about me, but kind of a funny story.
Sure.
I had the most beautiful pair of Tiger boxing shoes that I got for
Wow.
my Golden Gloves match, and they were beautiful white, gorgeous
Right.
boxing shoes. And Muscles asked if he could borrow my shoes for his fight before my fight.
Wow.
His fight was a bloodbath. My shoes weren't even white; they were red. They were. You couldn't even tell they were white anymore after when he gave them back to me.
You're
they were
kidding.
drenched in blood.
Wow, what a baptism.
I know.
And
Still makes me sad to think about.
Oh, I know, we can reminisce. I didn't mean to go there, but that makes us stronger.
Yeah.
And to get your blood red white shoes, my, unbelievable. So you did boxing, no basketball or anything? Didn't fit that in?
I was good in the neighborhood, but not. I
Yeah.
wasn't good. I didn't. I actually never played organized basketball. I wish
How'd
I
you
would
not?
have. but
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're an athlete.
Yeah.
There's no doubt
just
about
never
it.
got around to that one. Just
Right.
in the neighborhood.
Just your exploits with boxing and teaching women to box, and you've got a daughter that's a boxer.
Yeah, she's a great boxer.
And Diane Withrow, who I've met,
Mm-hmm.
she always wants to box with you. So I'm like, she's as beautiful as could be, another great designer and artist, and she wants to box. So you're
Yeah.
inspiring people in the neighborhood here.
Yeah, I've been teaching almost my whole life.
Really?
I really, really enjoy it a lot. I enjoy teaching.
Well, you're good at it because people are happy with results.
Oh,
Now, did you go to college?
yes, I went to
Where at?
Pitt. I went to
Okay.
Pitt, and just before I graduated from Pitt, I had too much. I wanted to get going in the world. I wanted to join the Army. So
Oh, get out.
So I went.
Before you
just before I
graduate-
graduated. Yeah, I'm still.
What a
I'm
move.
still just like a semester short of graduating from Pitt, but I went and joined
You
the
know
Army.
your daughter's here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
She knows.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
kidding a little bit. No, I was supposed to go to college, never made it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to be an architectural engineer and play small college football at Juniata. And back then, the Pittsburgh Press was like a lifetime job.
Mm-hmm.
My dad said I could work there, so that's what I did until I was 54 and took a buyout.
Yeah, that's how it was for us back then. Like I had the same thing, you know. I went to college, but my stepfather was they were pretty high up in the Boilermakers, and so
huge.
they got me a job, and you could make a lot of money back then. And
That's like I was making more than my engineer friends that graduated and they had debt.
yeah,
So I had none of that. I was ahead of the game.
right.
And you know how it was back then. And
Yeah.
Boilermakers, they take a lot of risk, and I have respect for them. I had friends that I went to high school with, and Mark Angle became one of their business agents and things like that.
Yeah, I'm
Kurt's
good
older brother.
I'm good friends with the Angle family.
Yes,
Yeah,
great family. I
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
know them all, and it's a shame about their sister dying. And
yeah.
definitely. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can tell you stories off air about Mark.
Oh, I've heard They have to be mythology.
No,
they can't
I'll
be real.
explain this. He's the toughest guy that I ever saw in Dormont. And
I've heard
I'll
that.
tell you about
I've-
one experience
I've
that,
heard that many times.
that I know is true off air. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that one.
I used to work out with I worked out with him a few times. I used to be a part owner of a gym.
Oh, okay.
And I used to.
We're getting out all these tidbits.
I know. I used to, and then with Mark, he came and worked out a few times. So
he was a beast.
I knew the other brothers much better.
Yeah, Dave and John.
Eric and and Kurt. It's kind of funny because Kurt was real close with my brothers and sisters. He's a few years younger.
Yeah,
than
he's
me.
younger. Yeah.
And it was funny. The first time I ever met Kurt was he was fighting somebody at a McDonald's. Like we were like high school. I was
Right.
And he was so
big
and so tough that I sort of sensed. I thought he was being a bully. So I was like, oh, I'm taking him on, you know. And then and then my brother, it was like, no, you don't know who he is. He'll kill you. You know? And then later on, we became best buddies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but me and Kurt, yeah.
No, and their dad was supposedly tough and all that.
They're
too,
all.
So,
They're
yeah,
all.
They were beasts. They were legendary. I will share that story when we leave. But yeah, okay. So now you go in the Army, and you don't get your degree. And what'd you do in the Army?
I started out in the military police, and then pretty quickly though, I was asked to try out for a team, it's called a special reaction team. It was a hostage rescue team.
Wow.
And yeah, I did a lot of pretty unbelievable. Now even remembering, they're pretty unbelievable. I was very lucky.
Well, there was no stopping you because you wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
I sense that about you.
Yeah, and I just I got to do a lot of really incredible things, and yeah.
Just tell me one.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so we can narrow it down. That maybe might be your best. Or
okay, I'll tell you one good one.
Okay.
I was watching a show on the History Channel not too long ago, and my team was in the show on History Channel, and they said that this was an important moment in history. Wow. And I was telling my sons, and I think my daughter too, I said, oh, I was part of an important moment of history. But what it was
that's hilarious.
There was you probably remember because you're about my age, but there was a guy named
I got you by 6.
There was a guy named John Busceda, and he testified against the mafia in the pizza trials. I don't know if you remember those.
I do remember pizza trials.
Well, when John Busceda, he personally eliminated with his testimony 75% of the mafia. And if you remember, before he came to the United States, 15 different law enforcement people and judges were murdered trying to get to him to kill him, everyone in his family. Well, my team brought him, we went to Italy and brought him to the United States.
Wow.
And we kept
I remember that.
We kept him alive for his testimony against the mafia. Do you want to know the weirdest thing? I swear to God it's true. I've never even talked to anybody about this. And how many years ago was that? 30 years ago or
30
something?
some years,
I haven't talked to anybody about this till like the last couple of years. And it literally was so ingrained in my head that we weren't allowed to talk to anybody about this stuff, not even our family.
Right.
And all of a sudden, just the last couple of years, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I could probably talk about it now. I mean,
wasn't there like a statute
I was still scared. I was like, wait, is anybody still listening? Maybe I shouldn't tell anybody. But
no, that's a great point. Great story too. I do remember that because that was making headlines back then all the time. And then you kept seeing murders. You know, now we see it in everything now. You know, movies and whatever else, TV shows. You see people dying every minute. You know, which is another story for another day. But no,
pretty
that's
exciting though.
That's interesting things. Yeah,
we
definitely.
We wrapped him in bandages and put him in an ambulance. So
really, so you're like hiding him. He's being discreetly brought here.
Yep, it was really cool.
Wow, I'm glad we got that out, folks. Hope we rewind and watch this again.
I went to. I'll tell you one more quick one. Part of our job was also assisting in protecting presidents.
Yes.
And I got to go to when this is how old I am. But
that's all right.
When President
Bush, we don't talk age.
When President Bush was the vice president, George Bush.
Yes, I remember.
The senior Bush.
Yeah, to Reagan.
I went to there was a protest outside of the Naval Observatory where the vice president lived, and there were shots fired.
Wow.
And I went into the presidential observatory through the back and took the Bush family out of the observatory. And just several years ago, before President Bush passed away, I don't know why, but I was feeling nostalgic, and I wrote them a letter. And I said, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I did this or whatever. And I got a really, really nice note back and a beautiful a photo I had always loved of President Bush when he was a naval pilot. And he
Right.
got shot down.
Right.
And I sent him this photo that I loved, and he wrote, to
He-
Jim,
he-
and everything.
Get out.
and
He
signed
like
it for me.
autographed it in
Yeah.
personal note.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And like you were mentioned, John O'Praskak,
I love his artwork.
he did a painting of Bush that's in his library.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's famous
Oh,
for that.
I'd
and
love to
some
see
other
that.
things.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've never
since you
seen that.
brought it up, I'll have to try to connect you to or something
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
But no, it's such a small world. Those are great stories.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till we continue with the most interesting man. We're going to see what happened after the Army.
Oh.
Because I'm getting ready. I'm strapped in here now.
Oh.
How long were you in the Army?
I was supposed to be in for
4.
4, but they politely asked me to leave after a couple years because I was not super great at following orders, and there was a lot of tension because
Yeah.
the team that I was on, it was almost more like I was a civilian than really in the Army, and
Yeah.
my commanding officer didn't really love the fact that I was under his command, but I was always doing these
Other things.
these terrorism
Well,
things.
you're a true Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah, and I just did not adapt well to taking tons of orders. So anyways, my best friend back here in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
he was killed in a car crash.
Ooh.
And I asked if I could, he was my best friend. We
Wow.
spent every day of our life together. And I asked if I could
Mention
come.
his name.
Oh, Michael Fenlock.
Okay, thank you.
And,
I like putting names out there.
Yeah, and he, anyways.
Sorry to hear that. That's
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, I asked if he was in the Air Force when I was in the Army, and
Right.
I asked if I could come home for his funeral, and somebody told me no, I wasn't allowed to. It
That's
was
not
just a lot
good.
of personality things, so I was like, okay, and I left and came home to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh for his funeral, and
You
then
were only AWOL for a couple days.
yeah, and then I was only AWOL for a few days, and then
See, I can
things-
figure it out. My son
things-
was in the Navy, so I
Things
know.
went downhill after that, but it was
Right.
okay. They asked me to leave, and I was fine with leaving, so it was okay. But
Yeah.
I did a lot in a couple of years.
Well, it sounds like it. That's why I'm shocked that
Yeah.
you didn't make the 4 years.
Yeah.
But I understand that. I've always said I'm a natural rule breaker.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I can't help it, and I do try to listen. So that's why we're doing this show. We're getting those things out. I'm interacting with what I've had because it's very similar. Not at your level.
Feels weird talking about yourself so much. I appreciate that.
I know. Well, you inspire me. I mean, seriously, in the things you do, and we'll get into that in a bit later, a little tease. And now you're out of the Army. What was on your mind?
Well, I was already.
Give me one thing, then we'll go to 2 or 3 more.
Yeah,
'Cause I know there had to be multiple
what
things.
what I was going to do for,
That's why I'm
for
asking.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it got even more confusing because I had sort of thought I would go into law enforcement because that's what I did in the
With the
military.
military, yeah.
And do you remember this in Pittsburgh? It's funny we're going over these
Yeah,
kind of
no, go-
history things of Pittsburgh, but
It's nice to reminisce because
Yeah.
we have a rich history.
yeah, for a while
Lay it out
there,
there.
I don't know if you remember, but the Pittsburgh police for a while, they were really in trouble because they weren't hiring any women.
Yes.
They weren't hiring many blacks, I don't think, and they weren't hiring any black women, I know that.
Yes.
And so what had happened was when I was really good friends with a lieutenant on the Pittsburgh police, and he said to me, Jim, he said, with your SWAT training and everything
You'll
you've
be in.
done, he said, you have more experience than somebody with 10 years on the force, and he said, you have no chance of getting hired. Because for a while there, they weren't allowed to hire anybody except women, if I remember right, because they were
Right.
so far behind. And so,
Well, you had the government involved in it.
Yeah.
We had it at the newspaper there.
Yeah.
Here, my union had more blacks than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because we'd let them in our department. It was a production department.
Yeah.
Because we went through that era. So I understand.
so I went and became a private investigator.
No way.
Yeah, and I got my license as a private investigator, and that was funny too because when I went to get my license, you have to go through the district attorney's office,
Wow.
and they told me. They were like, you got to have like 13,000 hours of investigative experience, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, how about this? I told them, I said, I did all this stuff in the Army.
Right.
I worked with intelligence in the Army. I did all this stuff.
White
I worked with
House.
NSA.
Yeah.
I worked with NSA. I worked with the White House. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll give you. So they gave me my private investigator's license.
Well,
And,
they're weeding out the riffraff.
Yeah. And
You
I did
weren't
that.
riffraff.
And I did that for a while, but that was
Yeah.
stupid. But when you're a young kid,
Right.
you're so excited to be patriotic, and
Right.
I wanted to
We're
be
all gung ho.
crime buster, and and I was so anti-drugs back then. I'm a
Sure.
little more lenient now,
Right.
but I just wanted to be crime buster, and
Yeah, be the
Captain
man.
America,
Be the
yeah.
man.
And I just took unbelievable risks. I worked
I'm sure.
crazy because I worked in narcotics, undercover narcotics, and it just got to be completely
Pittsburgh
insane.
was like the wild, wild west.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just share that with
yeah,
from how the
cocaine
mob,
was just
right,
insane. And
with what they were dealing with. And,
yeah. Well, the last case that I was on, the FBI had to come in and physically pull me off the case because the guy who I was following, who was sort of a pretty high-level dealer,
Yeah.
he ended up murdering a couple guys while I was watching him. So the FBI came in, and then
wow.
it was a very interesting case that I really can't talk about because there were Pittsburgh celebrities involved in it, and
No,
it was,
I
it was a
understand.
big thing.
Like to me, I'm a huge Pittsburgh fan, being founded in 1758. I can go geekish on you, but I won't. But corruption is like the main thing I've seen in Pittsburgh. No offense to politician friends, government officials, but I saw it from the age of 15 when I started working downtown at this Ralph's Discount. And I saw it later on when I was at after-hours clubs after working at the Post-Gazette. I saw drug dealers, county commissioners, the sheriff in the same bars.
Not surprised, me too.
So, I mean, that's
Yep.
part of my story. That's a little peek into my story.
I loved Ralph's Discount, by the way.
It was
Love that store.
the guy that owned it, and my cousin was the manager, and then it had the National Record Mart there.
Yeah.
And it was such a cool place. I was a stock boy there. I had a stock boy from 15 years old. When I could drive, they let me get them lunch in different areas all
that's
over town.
awesome.
So I like getting out of the place and not stocking the shelves.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I had great memories. Glad you liked it. It was a famous store. My cousin was with all the Steelers. He'd get them appliances and everything, some of the latest stuff out,
That's cool.
and they loved them. I got to meet a lot of Steelers back in the 70s when I was working there, so that's cool. So now, what did you become after the private investigator?
Well, I had a young family and a young wife, and I just was almost getting killed. I almost got killed a couple times. It was just a crazy job for almost no money.
Yeah.
And so I just made a tactical decision that it'd be better to do something a little less dangerous. So I had always been in sports.
Right.
So I started working with a gym, a small chain of gyms.
Sure.
And what I did was I traded my time for part ownership of a gym. I
Pretty
worked
smart.
my butt
Yeah,
off
you're a
to do
savvy
that.
guy. You're
Yeah,
savvy.
and then so I became part owner of a gym, and then after that led to working with the Pirates.
That's what I
eventually.
wanted you to bring up, because
Yeah.
you pumped me up when you told me you were a trainer with the Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Pirates. For how long?
Yeah.
About?
I worked with the Pirates for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The way it happened was one of the guys who I was helping to lift, to train for baseball, he actually was a part of the Yankees. But
okay.
I don't know if they still do it, but baseball, Major League Baseball used to have this thing I thought was really cool that, say you were a player for the Yankees.
Right.
If you were from Pittsburgh and you lived in Pittsburgh, they had like a mutual agreement where you could go work out with the
Oh,
Pirates.
wow.
Did you
I'll
know
bet
that?
they don't have that nowadays.
They probably don't. That was such a
because
cool,
of the money.
That was such a cool thing, I thought, though. So anyways,
I never knew. That is great.
Yeah, this guy
Thank
was.
you.
So he was a pitcher for the Yankees, and so he said to me, he goes, "Hey Jim," he goes, "You know, I know you like to play baseball. I've always played baseball till just a
Yeah.
couple of years ago."
No,
and,
I know. Bill Franciscus always
yeah,
talks
Billy-
about how great you are.
Yeah,
and he's a
great, too.
superstar
Yeah.
till he got that
Yeah.
road rage accident.
Yeah.
So
And so he said to me, "Hey," he goes, "they really need a practice catcher. The Pirates do." He said, "Would you want to try out?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I want to try out." So you know, because every kid like us, your ultimate dream is
Oh,
like
yeah.
you want to play for the Pirates, you know.
exactly.
And
Alvin O'Neill McBean was my favorite pitcher because I was a pitcher and I used a no wind up pitch like he did, and I had success.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I had his baseball card for years.
You were talking about like positive thinking. I'll tell
Yes.
you a really cool positive thinking story.
Lay it on me.
When they said, so the Pirates said, be down at, this is Three River Stadium at that time, right
Sure.
at the end. And they said, be at the stadium at this time, you know, 2 o'clock, whatever, and to try out. So the pressure's just building and building and building.
How
so,
was your heart?
Oh my God. So
Out of your chest.
I know. So I go down and I try out, and like I knew how to catch a little bit, so I looked good. But when I took like my first catch and
knew.
I threw back, I whipped the ball. I forget who was pitching, one of the Pirates pitchers.
Yeah.
I whipped it, hit him in the shin. He was like, "Ow!" I threw like 3 or 4 more balls, bouncing them to the pitcher. And finally, Gene Lamont.
Yeah,
was
I
the manager
remember him.
back
Yeah, the
then.
coach.
He walked up to me. He goes, "What the hell is going on?" he goes, "Just go home and come back tomorrow and try this again," which I thought was really cool. He could have told me to just get lost.
You know
but he
what?
goes,
What a great guy.
Yeah, what a great guy. He goes, "Go home, come back tomorrow and try this out again." So
You
I
were
went.
jacked up.
Yeah, I was, but the cool thing was that night I went back to the gym and I worked out, and this girl who I trained, who was a college volleyball player, she
Right.
said, "Jim, do this." She said, "Look in the mirror, just visualize that you're making perfect throws."
That is positive.
And then, so I thought of that, and I did it all night, and I went back the next day. I was perfect, throwing perfect snap throws back.
And
They
you
said,
got
"Fine,
hired."
good, you're hired."
Gene Lamont.
Yeah.
Hey, we're running the last 4 minutes.
Oh, geez,
Can we
sorry
get into
about
some
that.
designer stuff? Because
Sure.
some of the cool things and events that you've been at, if we can just do little thumbnail sketches,
Yeah.
because you and I can both talk. So
I know, sorry about
we're doing
that.
no apology
Sorry.
necessary. This is for all of you guys. Isn't this entertaining? Because I'm thrilled, especially your secret stories there with the mob and pirates and.
Jeez.
How
They're
did
gonna
you
come
get
and
in?
come and get me,
I
huh?
know, no, not today. How did designing pop into your life? Or
It
did
was-
you always do this?
No, I had always been kind of artistic, and I'd always drawn and stuff. And
Right.
what had happened was I was painting at that time, and I really like to paint sports people, like the
Right.
Pirates and stuff. And so, anyways, the art critic for the Post Gazette at that time, I had met him, and he asked if he could see some of my paintings.
Sure.
And so it just so happened that I
That was a
brought-
big deal.
Yeah. So I had brought all my paintings to meet with the art critic, and it just so happened
34 Boulevard of the Allies.
Yeah.
That's where it was.
that there was to a photographer's studio, and where he was going to be, and there also at the photography studio happened to be American Eagle,
Oh.
and they happened to see my stuff, and they said, "Can you take what you do with this and transfer it into clothing?"
What a
And
break.
I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. So, but then
I'll
I
try.
tried, yeah. And then eventually down the line, I did well. I started working with American
So you
Eagle.
started doing lines of clothing.
Not right away. Right away, what I did was I would design. The way we would do it is there was a factory that had a relationship with American Eagle and other
Sure.
stores, and I would design for them. And then so I was kind of.
Well, I know it's a lot more complex than
Yeah.
we're making it out to be.
Yeah.
There's different layers to all of it,
Right.
and who you got to deal with and
Yeah.
who you got to get into.
Yep. And then down the line, I did start my own lines, and
Well, I
did-
assumed
did
as
really
much.
well. Yeah.
You're a superstar in my book.
Oh.
I've seen what you've done in the fashion show you did at Hollywood Lanes 2 years in a row was just amazing.
It was cool, wasn't
Ah,
it? I thought it was a cool
one of the
idea.
greatest. One
Yeah,
of the
rock
greatest.
and roll, kind of like an underground rock and roll fashion
And Nat
show.
Sugar's unbelievable.
Yeah, she's great.
We're best friends because of that meeting. I was
Yeah.
friends with her on Facebook, but when I met her in person,
Yeah,
heard her
Nat's
story,
great, yeah.
and saw what kind of person. And Diane, the same thing. The same
Yeah.
night I befriended your son Connor,
Yeah.
we had some heart-to-heart talks. So we had a great night
Yep,
there.
yep.
Definitely. No, it's just cool stuff. And then you had some Oscar things.
Yeah,
Tell
I
me
did
a
my-
little, because we got a minute and something to go,
My
brother.
my stuff. I was really lucky enough that my clothing designs, actually mostly my jeans, were in the gift baskets at the.
Actually,
at
that is so
At
cool.
the Grammys, actually, they were in the Grammys,
Wow.
and when they were at the Grammys, people from the Academy Awards saw them and
Said,
asked
"We
if I would
need
do
it."
the Academy Awards. So I did them both the same year, and then I did the Grammys again a second time. But yeah,
No, that is so cool.
so Grammys and
And some of the things you post with your paintings, and like I remember your daughter being in garbage bags painted blood, you know, at the last
yeah.
last
You
thing
have a
we were
good
at.
memory, yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm still pretty sharp. So when you can give it like I do, I stay sharp. No, that was such cool stuff. And you dealt with some super people. The models all first class, just
Yeah,
nice people.
they
I
really
met 'em.
are.
Frank Fabus made sure he took pictures of me with every
Great
one of
guy.
them.
Yeah.
So I said thank you.
He's a great guy.
No, he is. We met a lot of great people at Hollywood Lanes,
Yeah.
including Jeffrey Park and all that. But we're winding down. Any closing remarks that you want to put out there? or-
I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so glad we're friends, and I'm going to keep following you and all your success.
You're welcome, and I will continue that too. And we went a little over, but there. I expected as much. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.